Okay, so this next slide is really important because this is where I'm going to talk about something that you might not have thought of before. All right, so in Indigenous cultures, women do not have the symptoms that we have in our Western world. And I'll tell you why. I've done a lot of reading around this, and this is the conclusion, or it's one of the big things that's actually affecting us, and that's stress. What happens is that in Indigenous cultures, they just live like normal lives where they're sort of in tune with the land or in tune with each other, their bodies and their spirit and all the rest of it. I think I'm thinking about the Aboriginal people that are not westernised basically, or haven't been too westernised. They do not have the symptoms that we do. And you think about our lives as women now, compared to say our great-grandmother. Our great-grandmothers probably stayed home. And look, that led to a lot of other issues and lack of freedom and all sorts of things, and the suffragettes and all of that happening because they didn't have freedom. But they had a job where they stayed home and they looked after the kids, right? And I know I'm speaking generally here, all right, but generally speaking, they stayed home and looked after the kids. They did not have to necessarily go out and work. It was always the man's job to come home and bring home the bacon, so to speak. If you look at what's happening now with women, women have full-time jobs. You can't even go near a house in Sydney to afford one unless you're both working. And especially if you're sort of just on even on good wages, that's the case. So women have full-time jobs. Because of the way we're programmed by our hormones, and I'll talk about that as well, we do most of the nurturing, the child rearing, the nurturing, the house looking after, all of that sort of thing. And even though, men are being trained through the generations to do more, they're not programmed to do this, by the way. We are. That's why the human race has been so successful. Because in evolution, and speaking as a biology teacher, there are strategies that actually species have to keep them successful. And one of the things that has helped women, or humans, to actually be on this planet and to dominate this planet for so long, completely dominated, is the fact that we are programmed the way that we are by our hormones. So, these days we have full-time jobs, we do most of the nurturing, we do most of the house taking care of, we do most of the child rearing, and we wonder why we're so stressed. We can't do it all. We think we can, and I think, there was a term going around in Cosmo magazine or something like, we can do it all, we can have it all. It's like, at a cost. It is at a cost, which is unfortunate. Now, how does stress then act on our body? Did you know that our adrenal glands, when our ovaries start to produce less and less progesterone and estrogen, our adrenal glands pick up the slack? Did you know that our adrenal glands also produce estrogen and progesterone in response to the ovaries not making so much anymore? So our adrenal glands also, and Denise mentioned it before, they produces adrenaline and cortisol, stress hormones. Now, in our Western world, we're always up here with stress. We are always in fright, flight, or freeze mode, completely. And when we're in that mode, our adrenal glands are just pumping out adrenaline, cortisol to keep us in that mode, right? In the old days, in Indigenous cultures, the only time we would actually have that is if we were being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. And as soon as we actually got away from that threat, our bodies would calm down again and we'd sort of get on with it. But in modern times, modern women now in the Western world, we are always up here with stress. Now, because our adrenal glands are completely burnt out, as Denise was saying, because they're completely burnt out, do you think that they've got any space or any energy for making any extra progesterone or estrogen? Nope. And that is why our symptoms are so bad, because the adrenal glands cannot pick up the slack of the ovaries as the ovaries start to go down. So we wonder why we have such really bad symptoms in the West. And stress is a huge part of that. And I know in my journey, stress has been the thing that's completely thrown everything. I had a knock-on effect with my blood pressure, with my hip replacement, my arthritis with me, and then the subsequent hip replacement, 2 shoulder reconstructions, all due to inflammation because of the stress and the knock-on effect that stress had in my body. Now, so that's one thing.
Can I just say too that
Yes.
cortisol levels in our bodies, which are so high due to the stress, also reacts with our insulin levels.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Which goes back to Denise's gut
Yes.
health as well, and the insulin levels of to do with your how your body's using sugar.
Absolutely. So true. You can see how the pancreas and the adrenals and everything's like linked.
Yeah.
Everything's linked.